Quick shout out to my amazing sponsors for the Patriot Barbie podcast. My title sponsor is Dr. Stephen Soloway. He is known globally as the Miracle MD. He's the author of Bad Medicine, a book about bad politics, bad government, bad hospitals, bad drug companies, and bad doctors. Buy it on drsoloway.com. My other sponsor, Celtic Plastics, is a water filtration system for your home and work that clears bacteria, fluoride, and heavy metals from your drinking water. You can buy one on CelticPlastics.com and use my code PatriotBarbie for 10% off. And one last shout out to Red Balloon. Thousands of companies are pushing back on wokeness in the workplace. Find a freedom-loving, non-woke job at redballoon.work and follow them on Instagram at redballoonwork. For all my sponsor info, book, and merch, go to PatriotBarbie.com. Like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Patriot Barbie podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey Graham, author and conservative activist. I love Jesus. I love America. I'm a proud wife, mom of 3, and I'm having bold and witty conversations with America's patriots, the ones that cancel culture desperately want to blacklist. Trust me, I've been there. In 2020, I defied government lockdowns in Oregon, reopened my salon, and became an icon of freedom. I've been targeted by government and raging liberals every day since, and I refuse to back down. Patriots, I'm here to tell you, your values are worth fighting for. The Patriot Barbie podcast starts now. Welcome to the Patriot Barbie podcast. You guys are in for a treat today. My guest is not only my friend, she is a powerhouse female. She is making changes in America. She is the author of Kayleigh's Law. Would you call it an author? The author?
Namesake.
The namesake. So
I did write it. I helped write it.
You did write, of course, yeah. So I could read this amazing bio. Well, let me read the amazing bio. So it does say right here, the namesake behind Kayleigh's Law. She's the definition of determination, and her story is both moving and inspirational. She is proof that it only takes one person to make a change. Kayleigh is a wife, proud mother to 5 beautiful children, college graduate, successful stakeholder in the legislative process in multiple states, political activist, and public speaker. She is also a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, a category she never wanted to be any part of. Her drive and passion to continue to stand up and demand change against a broken system exemplifies her strength. Her grassroots efforts are changing the laws for victims and survivors across America. You guys, she is exactly what this says. So tell everyone what Kayleigh's Law is first so that we kind of understand, like, all right, what bill did you help write?
So Kayleigh's Law is a form of protection. Okay. So what it does is it gives victims and survivors of certain crime, mostly sexual and domestic abuse, the option to petition the court for protection that lasts their natural lifetime.
Okay.
So why it's so important and what there's been such a misunderstanding is because prior to this law, if and when a perpetrator's probation was lifted, a victim was left with no protection, and they were not even given the option to petition for protection.
Okay, so I like to really clarify things for people because, I've been part of your story and watched you grow and pass this bill, which is incredible. But so what you're saying is, say a girl is 13 and she's abused and her predator goes to jail for 10 years. He gets out. He can just find her?
Well, no.
He can contact her.
They would most likely go on probation, some form of probation.
Okay.
If they serve prison time, their probation is usually a lesser amount of time.
Okay.
But regardless, like in my case, my abuser asked for 2 terms of lifetime probation, and that's what he pled guilty to. And it has been 15 years, and he's motioned to have that lifetime probation lifted. And lifetime no longer means lifetime. So once that probation is lifted, prior to the law, a victim could not, there was no protection available to them.
So did he take a plea to get probation?
Yes.
Did he ever go to jail?
He did 6 months in jail.
Yeah. Okay. So
he was facing 20
predator.
years. Yeah. And he took a plea deal for 6 months in jail, and he asked for 2 terms of lifetime probation in lieu of prison time.
Okay. And then later he was like, oh, can I get that waived because I'm such a good citizen?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. That's exactly what happened.
Okay. So a sexual predator who was facing 20 years in prison only got 6 months.
In jail. He never even went to prison.
Got probation. What did probation include?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of terms in probation.
Okay.
I mean, from things
Because I'm like, what's a probation? You can't have contact with minors. Big deal. You're going to find a way. You're a sexual predator. Like, ooh,
yes,
you're on the loose now.
Yes. So in probation, everyone's terms vary, right? Depending on their crime, for any crime, even with sexual crimes, their probation can vary. It depends on the type of crime. It can depend on their level, what's in their probation. And also what a lot of people don't understand is there's a standard probation that's given, but their probation fluctuates. So their probation officers have the authority to allow them to do and not do things.
Like throughout the course of the probation,
yes.
like by their discernment?
Yes.
So probation officers are given some kind of legal authority to say, well, okay, we are going to let you go to do this.
Yes, usually they have to have permission slips. But yeah, it's like an actual legit permission slip.
Okay, so just in like the disgusting world we live in, a predator who's on probation could bribe or woo or intimidate or schmooze their probation officer into privileges.
There was a case in Maricopa County, pretty recent, and we'll call him a narcissistic pedophile.
Okay.
Not only was he sleeping with his probation officer, he was sleeping with her daughter. And he ran amok, and he actually ended up having a murder-suicide case. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So the system is so broken because, yeah.
You know what I would say, but I can't. The system is.
Yeah. She can't say the F word, huh?
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. Sleeping with the probation officer. So of course, like.
Very,
Wow.
yeah. So they can give them different, and they can be on like a standard caseload, a minimum caseload. Probation is very complex, and it's actually kind of scary. There is really no overhead. They audit themselves. There's very little transparency. Something I really, really just struggle with is probation, specifically in Arizona. They claim that sex offenders have a 90% success rate. What does that even mean? How does a pedophile have a success rate? And so what do they mean? Like, what's your treatment, whatever. And they can't even give you that. And then the other thing is that they don't answer to, like, there's no transparency. When I asked, when this all resurfaced, my case, I had asked how many sex offenders that are on probation with a lifetime term have gotten off probation. We don't know. What do you mean you don't know? How do you not know?
Then how do you gauge anything? Success rate?
They don't have answers.
Like reincarceration rate, if you don't know that.
Yeah. Well, and the other problem is when you have perpetrators taking like plea deals, for example, or they're lessening them every time. And even if they commit another crime, they don't tack that on, like they don't consider that if they recommit. And it's crazy. Probation.
I'm seeing like a trend in like we're being way too easy on pedophiles and sex.
There's no accountability. We live in a society right now where there's a sense of urgency to protect pedophiles.
Right.
That is like, it's more of a concern than it is to protect victims and children.
Right.
And it's very scary.
Because the culture we're living in is now a coddling culture. Like, God forbid we offend anyone, even if you're a murderer or a rapist. Like, you have feelings too. And Biden just appointed that judge that her whole entire judge history is giving reduced sentences to pedophiles.
Well, because
than even recommended.
Because they made a mistake.
Right.
No, they made a choice.
Oh yeah, you made a mistake.
Very
all right.
conscious choice.
Yep.
And there's no accountability. No one wants to hold them accountable. And we could literally talk all day about like every layer of like accountability and entities and probation and organizations and whatever and they have to go on and live their life. I understand that. But I don't.
I mean, that's even like sympathetic. They have to go on and live their life. No, I mean, there are situations I think that probably have some indiscrepancies, like an 18-year-old boy sleeping with his 17-and-a-half-year-old girlfriend.
There's laws for that though. Like in Arizona, we have Romeo and Juliet, and people often defer to those types of situations, right? Like, oh, there was, a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old, whatever. If you it is hard enough to get an actual case prosecuted, let alone a Romeo and Juliet case.
Right.
And there's laws to protect that. And the other thing is you have to go back and look at the dates of when like those incidents happened. What was the statute at the time? Because laws are constantly changing.
Right.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about true pedophiles with dozens of victims.
Right.
And they're not even going to trial because it's just easier to take a plea deal. And it's so broken. I mean, like literally could talk to you for days.
Yeah. And we're going to get into your story because your story is such a special exception, because when you say like, I get it that they have to move on and like live their life, but it's also like, well, not really.
Yeah.
Like you can live your life in a way that doesn't threaten society, I believe. And what we're going to talk about in your case is like, not just he went out to like live a normal life in society. He went straight back into the lion's den. But okay, so Kayleigh's Law basically is a bill passed. And it's only been passed in Arizona, correct?
Arizona and Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin, okay.
Yes.
You spearheaded this law. You helped write the bill, the vocabulary in it.
Yep.
It went into legislature. It got voted on. It passed in Arizona and Wisconsin. And it says that victims of sexual abuse, when their predator gets released or their probation gets lifted, that predator cannot do what? Like contact
they can't contact
be around
you in any way, shape, or form. It falls
Okay.
under the harassment definition, which we also updated to support the law.
Perfect.
So in Arizona, we'll stick with Arizona because that's where we're at. Specifically in Arizona, the retroactive cases, you will fill out a form to petition the court. The form will go to the judge. The judge will approve the lifetime injunction. And what I want people to understand is that we had to include natural lifetime, because if we hadn't, it leaves a loophole.
The lifetime sentence.
Lifetime.
Where like he was serving life probation, but yet somehow he's not.
So we had to write natural in there, and natural is so critical because it leaves no room for a loophole.
So as long as he is breathing,
yes,
or even on a breathing tube, as long as his body is declared alive, he cannot contact you.
So in the retroactive aspect, a victim can go and petition the court and have that. But for cases that haven't been prosecuted yet or haven't even happened, they will serve them in court under this law. Now, during the case. And of course, we included a clause in there if someone does want to have it revoked. Yep.
If you fall in love with your sexual abuser,
I mean,
forbid,
we had to.
I'm sure it's happened.
Per legal reasons, we had to have that in there, but it is in there. But I'm very confident in saying, I'm speaking for most victims and survivors, that they don't ever want that. They shouldn't have to worry about that.
No.
And in my case, I couldn't understand why would he even be given the option with no repercussion? And I said, so if his probation goes away, he can just like get on social media. What if he wants to like message me?
Yeah. So what would have happened prior to Kayleigh's Law? What would have happened if he would have hit you up on Facebook and said, "Hey, girl"?
Nothing.
What if you called the police and said,
"There's no threat. He could have.
He would have to re-threaten you, re-abuse you, stalk you, like go through a whole
have
normal.
To be, because at that point there was no current cause for some kind of injunction or restraining order.
That's insane.
So this makes the crime itself enough of a reason to have this lifetime protection.
Right.
So
that's incredible. So here's what's going on with you right now, which I think is crazy important.
There's only one thing going on with me right now.
Here's the most important thing going on right now, is that your law is in effect, but if victims don't know about it, they have to take the action to file this.
I can't. It
doesn't magically happen.
No, I've done everything that I can possibly do. They must petition the court. I can't do that for them.
So if you're a victim of sexual abuse or rape or a crime,
even domestic abuse,
and you're predator. I keep saying predator.
No, that's
I want to say perpetrator because I come from a family of law enforcement.
Perpetrator, predator, pedophile,
if you're a perpetrator,
defendant
gets off probation.
No, you don't even have to wait for that. You can do it now.
Oh.
So it's done. It doesn't matter where they're at in their journey.
Okay.
You can petition the court. It doesn't matter if they have 2 days of probation left, if they're on lifetime probation.
If they're sitting in prison right now.
Yep.
But they could get out.
Yep.
You never know.
They could. And they could get their probation lifted.
Okay.
So this just makes it where, regardless of the terms, once that's lifted, if and when it is, then that protection is there.
So anyone that's a victim of this, period, should go to a court system and have this filed.
Yes.
So that if and or when their perpetrator gets out, they're already protected.
Yes.
What a great peace of mind.
Yeah.
Like how many lives have you saved?
I
mean,
can't imagine.
Not, I'm not going to get all emotional.
Don't, because then you're going to make me get emotional. We don't want to cry.
Not just like the protection that, okay, he can't contact me, but women could be hurt. I mean, these guys get out and they immediately commit crimes again.
Mm-hmm.
But now, not that they won't, but at least they're not going to go after their previous victims.
So,
like they shouldn't, because it's.
And like I said, even if he would have messaged me on some kind of social media platform, right? And I'd had a really deep conversation with, people in the legal field, saying, what if I don't know his journey with Christ. It's between him and God.
Mm-hmm.
He claims to be, a Christian who's found Jesus, and I hope that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. But what if he got off probation and he decided one day, you know what, I'm going to send her a message on Facebook and apologize. I'm just giving a very nice benefit of the doubt here. You don't get to do that. You don't ever get to speak to me again. You don't get to decide that you're sorry for the things that you did to me, that you chose to do to me. And now you feel remorseful and you want to reach out and you want to reinsert yourself in my life. You don't get to do that.
And you know why? You know why? Because he can be sorry all he wants, and that's for him. But for him to bring that back up in your life, and you're already the victim, makes you a victim again.
It's re-traumatizing and re-victimizing.
Yes, absolutely.
And you want to, again, I will, through this process I've learned, if you really want to say you're sorry to me, first of all, I testified against you in court, you could have apologized. And I'm not even saying, we're talking hypothetically right now. He had the opportunity to do so if he wanted. Also, if he really wanted to write a letter, if any pedophile wants to write a letter to their victim, there's actually a procedure in place. And it's, imagine this, more to protect them.
Of course.
So it goes through a process, and the victim does not have to read it, but there is a way to do so if they wanted to.
Right.
And so it's there. But another thing is, some people have said, oh, it's just a piece of paper. It's just an injunction. You're right. It is. Just like it's just anything is just
like
a
a
law.
Restraining order is just a piece of paper.
It is. However, what have we done now? We've created a direct consequence, which is going to what?
Yeah. It's
deter them.
Deter them from, acting on it.
So it's just a piece of paper, but it's actually so much more than that.
What are the consequences, by the way? I think that's.
So it varies. There is no such thing as black and white in this area, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it depends on if they were to contact, what definition does it fall under for harassment or contact?
Okay.
It starts at 6 months minimum in jail.
Oh, good. I like that.
So that's a minimum. Yeah.
Okay.
And it does seem small, but again, it's a direct consequence.
And it's just a layer of protection for the victim,
Yeah.
which the victim deserves.
And no one should have to worry or deal with it. I mean, the fact that I had to go back to court after 15 years and reface the man who sexually abused me as a child and ask the judge, please don't lift this, because if you do, I have no protection. I should have never had to do that.
Right.
And that is why I'm fighting so hard for victims, because they should never have to worry that they're going to have to go back and ask for protection from the person who's already harmed them.
Yeah, who's already been convicted of the crime.
Yes.
And yes, like.
Especially when they're a
opens everything back up.
child.
Yeah. And by this time you should have, gone to counseling and gone to therapy and healed and started to like move on with your life. And now it starts all over again.
Literally. And I call it my 13-year gap. From the time my case closed to the time I was ever notified, it was 13 years.
And you were re-traumatized by this.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
How can you not be? I mean, it was like a bomb exploded in my life.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, nothing. And then all of a sudden, and that was just the beginning.
Okay. This is the juicy part.
Oh,
I know all of this stuff. And I'm like, we're going to expose this. So in your case specifically.
Yes.
What happened? It's been 13 years. You were assaulted, victimized, molested by this man. Do you want to share like in what context or what role he was in your life? I think that's kind of important. So
yeah. So he was my PE teacher and soccer coach.
Okay. At school.
He was my
This is a teacher.
Yes.
Okay.
So 6th and 7th grade, 12 and 13 years old.
Okay.
Yes. And it was club soccer.
Okay.
And so I couldn't escape him.
Right.
I mean, all day at school, practice. And it's actually really sad to look back and think how
unprotected you were.
Yeah. Just how how present he was in my life. And he was just there.
Do you know if he did this to other girls? Do you know?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's safe to assume, right? You didn't find one 13-year-old girl attractive and hurt her.
Yeah. I I can't comment on that because I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say is per the court records, no.
Okay.
But that's all I have.
Interesting. I'd be interested to see if other girls ever step up.
I wondered when I turned him in, but no one else did.
Okay.
So that's not to say I don't have
Right.
proof or I don't know either way.
Right. Okay. So it came out. Did you tell someone? Did you tell an adult?
So actually, and I think it's really important to share this part, especially for other survivors, because people always say, how come they didn't say anything? I got asked yesterday, why didn't you just tell your parents? It doesn't work like that.
Okay. Try to remember being 13. Like, you don't know who you are. You don't know what's right and wrong. You know what you're taught in school, and this is an adult that you trust, and you think, am I the crazy one? I mean, it's so hard for me to let people say, why didn't you do this?
And he groomed. I mean,
Did he groom you?
Absolutely. He groomed my family. First of all, he targeted us. We just moved across country. I was brand new to the school. I was brand new to soccer. We were definitely targeted. My mom worked with him. And I mean, he groomed the school, the soccer club, and I'll touch on that. But no, he preyed. That's what they do. They prey on their victims.
Right.
And I look back at certain situations that he knew about like ahead of time, and he had to have pre-planned certain things.
Were your parents married at the time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So did he like befriend your dad or anything?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. And yeah, my parents, and like I said, he was my mom. He worked with my mom, and it was, soccer team was my family. And
right.
So I had switched schools 8th grade just because of zoning. And then I was still in Buckeye at the time.
Okay.
And then I went to Xavier for my freshman year.
Okay.
And that is when I turned him in.
Okay.
And although I didn't realize this at the time, it took me escaping that bubble to feel safe enough to tell somebody. And I didn't even realize that I was turning him in when I turned him in.
What happened?
We were watching a video at Xavier called Good Touch, Bad Touch. And it was about grooming.
Oh my gosh.
And that wasn't really a thing in 2006. That's when I turned him in. But he had me he loved me. It was different because what people also need to understand is pedophiles, they do one of two things. They stoop to the victim's age level or they bring you up.
Okay.
So he brought me up. And I was very
Made
mature.
You feel like you were an adult.
Yes.
And
You're a woman trapped in a child's body when you're of age. These are the things that I would want to do. And he did act on certain things. But he brought me up. And pedophiles do one of the two things. That's how their minds work.
Okay.
And he really used soccer. That was my dream. I was recruited for an Olympic development team when I was in 7th grade, for the West Coast of America. And that was my dream. I wanted to be the next Mia Hamm. And that's all I wanted. I mean, maybe I could have been. No, I'm the Kayleigh Kozak now.
Yeah, I'm Kayleigh's Law. I actually think that this might be God's bigger calling for you than a soccer player. But
yes, but that was what I wanted, and he knew that, and he used it. And I'll train you and all these things. But so when I turned him in after hearing that video, thinking, well, that sounds like exactly what happened to me.
Who did you tell?
I went and told one of the little nuns. I know.
Aww.
And then I went and talked to a counselor.
Okay.
And
did the nun, was she mandatory reporter? Did she have to tell someone?
No, I went and told her, and then they took me to
a counselor.
Probably
wanted to make sure it was a
And I
valid
said,
story.
I think this is different. I don't think he loves me. I don't think he never meant to hurt me. And
You're almost like making excuses for him.
Absolutely. Still? Yeah, because
because you're a victim. He successfully did what he was supposed to do.
I have to watch my mouth. He mined me, he had, and that's what they do. And when you're so young and vulnerable, you don't, and that's why it gets so frustrating when people are like, why didn't you say anything? And then I look thinking of a 13.
Do people still say that to you?
Yes.
Okay, that's not fair. Let me just hold on.
Yeah.
If you're talking to a victim and you say things like, why didn't you this? If you're asking like, no, I really want to know what stopped you because I have someone in the situation. But if you are even considering condescendingly saying, well, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? Don't you dare. It's a 13-year-old girl we're talking about and an adult that manipulated her. There you go. Go ahead.
Well, and it's crazy because the last time I saw him before I turned him in was April of 2006. I turned him in September of 2006. And he threatened me. I saw him I hadn't seen him in months. And I told him I hated him for what he did to me. And he said if I told anybody that he would hurt me.
Oh my gosh.
And like everything I'm telling you, I have proof of. Like,
yeah.
you know, it's there. But so, and then, you know, you walk away from that and fight or flight and terror. And then you want, like, he knows where I live. He knows everything about my life.
Yep. He could lie about you. He could make things up about you. He's an adult. You're a child.
And so that's what I'm saying. It took me getting out of that bubble. But when I turned him in, you know, they called my parents and I begged them not to because that's not what I thought I was doing.
Right.
I thought I was getting confirmation that it was different, truly. And then they called the police and
there we go.
And and then my parents came. And I think something else that a lot of people, there's a lot of things that are kind of mind blowing, but it wasn't that my parents didn't believe me, but when I didn't want to say who, they never even mentioned him. They mentioned other people, but they never even said
Your
his
parents?
name.
Like they didn't know who it was, or they?
Yeah, when the school had called my parents to come in and we were talking, I didn't want to say because I didn't want to get him in trouble.
And so they didn't know.
No, they had no idea. And in fact, when I told them, they were taken back. There's no way.
Wow.
And I
not
think,
in a there's no way, like you're lying, but like, oh
no,
my gosh, how did we not see it?
Yeah, how do we not see it? He would never. And I know my parents really struggle with a lot of this. And I honestly, I don't think it was real for them until they heard the confrontation call, because that's how he was busted, was we did a confrontation call and he admitted to everything and they heard him. And that's why he was arrested.
Why do you think he admitted to everything?
I don't know. It's interesting. I have the confrontation call. I don't want to read it because I'm at peace with it.
Right.
So, because whatever I said as a 14-year-old girl, I was brave enough to do that.
Yeah.
And it worked. So, but I think it took my parents hearing that to really.
This is what I think people, adults, especially adults, need to be aware of is we give so many other people the benefit of the doubt. And with your children, be careful.
Yeah.
Narcissists do what they do best.
Yes.
These pedophiles, they don't do this because they suck at it. They're very good at it.
And he's labeled as a charming narcissist. That's what they've labeled him as. And we're taught to look for the scary guy in the van, the creepy guy in the van. We're not taught to look for the
freaking Ted Bundy, right? Who's super cute. I've seen him.
Yeah. You would be shocked if.
I want to see a picture of this.
Well, that's not what I was going to say.
Maybe we should show it.
He put an article out there with his picture on it.
Okay,
so
I'm looking that up.
But if you, in Maricopa County, every third Friday of the month, sex offenders get to go at motion to have their lifetime probation or their probation lifted or lessened or reduced or whatever. And if you walked in there not knowing what it was, you would not think 9 out of 10 people, sex offenders are sex offenders. They're dressed to the T, smelling good, suit. Wooing the judge.
Super sorry about what I did. I'm such a good member of the community.
Yeah, I did my time.
All right.
Yeah.
So your guy. Okay, go ahead.
So, what I want people to understand is how much grooming he had done. Right.
Yeah.
So he was arrested, and they might as well have said my name on the news. They said every other detail about my life, which is so sad to me because. I mean, truly.
Victimizing the victim.
Oh, yeah. They don't care.
Yeah. No.
They're just looking for a story.
No.
And my parents, because the soccer club, right? I didn't want to walk away. I wanted to play soccer. That's all I wanted to do. And so we went to a soccer tournament in Tucson the week he was arrested, that weekend. And we showed up and the entire club was wearing shirts that said, "We support our coach."
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And
they all knew. They could all pretty much presume it was.
That's what victims deal with. Seriously. And that's just one of the things.
Gosh.
Yeah. We can expose this. At the time, the president of the soccer club.
Who?
John Roseanne.
Okay.
After he heard the phone call of him admitting, he bailed him out of jail. So
he heard him admit to abusing you.
Yes.
And then he bailed him out.
Yes. And is
John Roseanne a predator, pedophile? Because I don't think anyone that's not a pedophile bails out pedophiles.
What I do know about him is, he stayed with him too until he was sentenced. That was where
I hope John doesn't have daughters.
I don't know if he does or not. What I do know is he is currently the president of Arizona Youth Soccer Association.
Still.
Right now, today. Yes.
John Rosanna.
Yep, John Roseanne.
Wow. Yeah. Bails out pedophiles.
And he is the president of a children's. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again,
Arizona Republic. You want to cover this?
I have proof of like all of this. And this has all just come to fruition, right? Like I didn't go looking for this. Let me tell you something. For 13 years, I tucked this file so deep. I somehow, by the grace of God, was able to go on and live a really healthy, normal life.
Mm-hmm.
And when he decided to petition and have this probation or to have his probation lifted, he opened this door.
Right.
I did not ask for this.
Right.
I didn't ask for any of this.
Right.
And every step along the way that I've been dealing with this, it gets more unbelievable every time I turn around.
So where is he now? Where is your predator?
In Arizona. In
Where?
Greater Phoenix area, Maricopa County.
What's he doing?
I don't know. I don't know any of I really don't look at any of that. I don't want to.
Is he still coaching soccer or?
I hope not. But I don't know. He's gallivanting. I can tell you that much.
How do you know he's a born again Christian? How'd you find
Because
that
he
or claims to be.
When we went to court in 2020, I had 3 options as a victim. I could do nothing, I could write a letter, or I could go testify. And I was going to testify. I deserve to be heard. I'm not going to testify. He doesn't get any more of my life.
Right.
Back
and forth.
Yes.
Like, should I, shouldn't I? Yeah.
And mind you, I have 5 kids at home.
Right.
You
this
know,
is going to bring this all up
a
to children that
1-year-old.
never knew this, or you now are going to be forced to tell them.
And I'm
on his timing.
I literally like it was like ripping a wound back open with a hacksaw and
now other people are involved. Like it's not just you and your parents as a child, it's your kids and your husband.
Now I'm a parent, right? So I'm looking at this from a different lens. Mm-hmm. This was also re-traumatizing for my parents.
Right.
And because and then we find out all these things like, wait a second, how can my parents are said, we agreed to lifetime probation. Right. That is why we accepted this plea deal on your behalf, because I was a child.
Right.
Why is this happening? And then we find out, because again, never looked in 13 years. So my dad starts doing some investigating and we can't find him on the public registry. Well, he has to register as a sex offender.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Where is he? He's not on there?
Level 1 sex offenders are not on the public registry.
Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, you guys had to agree to his plea.
Yes.
So why didn't you say
I didn't do anything.
Like who did? Your
my
parents? Okay. Did they ever tell you why?
Because of all the hell I was going through. And his attorney, Jason Lamb, and had hired a private investigator, and they called me out. And that was the last time I was ever with soccer. There was a meeting and they walked around the corner and they said, we know you did this. We know you're lying. In front of everybody.
So they were trying to
they tried
slander you.
Absolutely. That I was a 13-year-old promiscuous girl who led him on.
Oh.
That was what they did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If you're a grown adult and you can't resist the urges of a 13-year-old girl, you should probably leave the school system.
Yeah. So that's so I had been, and then the soccer team, and what people don't understand is my whole world came crashing down. I had nothing. Yeah. And when at that soccer meeting, it gives me the chills. One parent followed us out of all those people. And so many of those people were when he pled guilty, were at his court hearing, sitting on his side.
That's disgusting. Mm-hmm. That is really disgusting.
And all this had come out. So my parents, they didn't want to put me through a trial. Mm-hmm. And I said for so long, I'm so glad that they chose to do that. And part of me is because they really spared me that trauma. Mm-hmm. Now.
But hey, now you're an adult and I think you've been prepared for this. I think this is literally your calling in life is to be an advocate for these girls and these women, and who else is going to spearhead a law like this?
If this is what I'm dealing with, I can't imagine what other people are dealing with.
No.
Because it's insane.
You're strong. I mean, you are strong and tough, and I hope you give yourself enough credit. Like, you could have swept this back under the rug, moved out of state. I mean, done whatever.
Yeah.
Said, you know what, you do your thing here. I'm going to go.
When I think about after we went to court, and I had said, to the judge in 2020, please, don't lift his probation. I don't even care about all the other terms of his probation. Like he can't have beer. Like there's different things. That's what I'm saying. It varies for each offender.
He couldn't drink this whole time.
Well, that's per his standard probation. Yeah.
Okay.
Allegedly. Yeah. I don't know.
But following him around, I can take pictures of him drinking beer. Go to jail.
Well, he can do whatever he wants and not get in trouble. And I have proof and we can talk about that. But I'm like, I can't believe it's happening. And I'm bombarded after I testify because people are like, wait, there is no such thing as post-probation protection, right? And it started as this idea, I'm going to pass a law. I'm going to, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to change this. And someone specifically in that room had like, she was so high energy, and obviously I'm an emotional mess. And she writes down her name and number and rips it off the corner of her paper and says, "You are, and I'm going to help you." And she's like, "We're going to call it Kayleigh's Law." And I'm really honored that.
Who was it?
I don't know if I can say or not,
okay,
but
okay.
Someone in the legal field that
okay.
was there that day.
Okay.
But to know that many people ran and were like, "Wait a second, this needs to be fixed," and then I did something. But that was February 22nd of 2020.
Okay.
And then what happened 2 weeks later? Whole world exploded, and COVID, and nothing else mattered,
yeah,
right?
That's right. Okay.
So
I'm like, what did happen?
I know.
That's right. I know.
What happened then? How can you forget?
Clearly being
you were a little
down.
busy, being your own.
Yeah, I remember I had my own little fight going
amazing
on.
self. But so I had I didn't even know who my local legislator was. I didn't know anything. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I was going to do it. And so then that happened and nothing else in the world mattered. And I was like, well, I guess we'll wait and I didn't know how the legislative process worked. I didn't know anything.
Right.
So
this is so good because I feel like in 2020, it changed so many people, but a lot of it's around like lockdowns and freedom and I'm awake and the vaccines and all this and this. But it's like, there's also this. It woke you up. Like you got activated politically in a whole different realm.
Yeah. And I had no idea what I was doing. But in October of 2020, I was in a really dark place. I mean, I had 5 kids home. My husband was working 6 12-hour shifts on nights. I couldn't take my kids anywhere. It was a lot. And I remember making my son's bed and listening to Andy Frisella's podcast, 75 Hard. And it was October 30th. And I was like, that's it. Today's the day I'm changing my life. Like I'm starting 75 Hard. I can't live like this anymore. I need something I can control. And for anyone who's ever done 75 Hard, like
it's hard.
It's hard. It is hard. They don't call it that for a reason. But I needed the mental accountability and that part that I could control. And it was the best thing I have ever done for myself in my entire life.
Oh, that's amazing.
I hope one day I can tell Andy Frisella that his program saved me and changed my life.
That's amazing.
I can't. He has no idea what it did for me.
I bet you he's going to hear this. I bet you I'm going to send it to him.
So truly, oh my God, it's going to make me emotional.
He said my name on someone said my name on his podcast a few weeks ago. So I'm on his radar. I'm going to send him this.
I would not have been able to get through this journey if it wasn't for that program. It changed my life. Truly, it did. And I'll never be able to thank him enough for sharing that and freely, sharing it too.
It's like a fitness.
No, don't do that.
Is it? No, this is, I want to make a point.
No, it's a
fitness thing, right?
No, it is a mental discipline program.
Okay.
There's a physical aspect because you're doing 2 45-minute workouts a day.
Okay, but that's what I want to get at is to some people it is. Literally to me, I'm like, it's a fitness thing, right? But it's more than that.
Oh, absolutely. You have your tasks every day, right?
Yeah.
And you have to hold yourself accountable. No one else can do it for you. And I mean, I went all in. I hired a nutritionist. I really challenged myself. I was walking with 5 kids miles, carrying them over my shoulders, screaming. Like I had no excuse. I walked in the snow. I walked in the rain. I broke my toe on day 73. Like,
oh my gosh.
I went all in, but it changed my life. And what I want to share with him, I hope I can share with him one day, is that every time I was on the program, because I did the Live Hard year, and every time I was on, something incredible happened with this law. Every single time.
Your mental focus was there.
Yes.
That's so amazing.
It's crazy. Like dates, I can tell you moments, like exactly like things that had happened. I mean, I was in phase 2 or phase 1. I was in phase 1, April of 2021, running on the treadmill, seriously listening to Hall of Fame, which was funny, when Senator Kerr called me and said, "Governor Ducey just signed your bill." And I'm like running on the treadmill at the gym, doing my second workout.
And then I'll talk
I can't talk, So anyways, but that was the day I decided. But my whole point of bringing that up was because I could have how much time went by, right? Months. And I could have walked away and not done anything. But I couldn't. Because every time I laid my head down at night, I thought about how, there was another third Friday. More sex offenders just got off probation. More victims are left without protection. I can't sit here and not do nothing. I must do something. And so I did. And I went down in December of 2020 and met with Senator Kerr and her Ledge Council. And they all were, "Are we sure this is like not a thing?" And
isn't that crazy? Because no one tackled this before.
I know. So we drafted a bill and dropped it in 2021 in Arizona. And it went through and passed with complete bipartisan support in 4 months.
Amazing.
Because it was so...
It's so not bipartisan.
Yeah.
It's so...
And I had, again, no idea. I even went, they gave me like the 5th grade, like how to pass a law.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Because I'm like, I don't know what
Passing
I'm
Laws for
doing.
Dummies. Here's the book.
No,
you
it's
should write that
crazy.
book.
I should.
How to Pass a Law for Dummies.
Oh man. But I told Senator Carr, I said, I want to be there for everything. I don't want to miss a moment. I don't care what it is.
You shouldn't. I have goosebumps. You shouldn't. Like you are changing the
So
nation.
February 24th, 2021, it was my daughter's birthday. I had to have an emergency surgery from a complication. And I was literally, I had just gotten my IV, like going back, and Senator Kerr is calling me. And I answer, and she's like, your bill goes on the floor tomorrow for 3rd read and final vote in the Senate. And I'm like, I'm literally going back for surgery. And she's like, you have to be here tomorrow. And no, Zoom.
I want to be there.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had asked my doctor, I was like, can I go? And he's like, Dr. Brown, real TikTok doc. And
Yeah,
he was
that
like,
dude's funny.
oh, he's like, I should say no, but you have to go. But you go and you go right home. I went 18 hours after I had a pretty big surgery and was down at the Capitol to be present for that reading.
Pushing your little IV bag along like an old lady?
No, I had drains,
my
but
gosh.
but I had to be there. That's what I'm saying. It was so important to me to be there. And so it passed, and it was kind of like unreal and surreal, like, right?
That's it?
And then I'm like, well, now what happens? Like, where do we go? Where do we go from here? And then I had to learn about sine die. Well, when session ends and we have 90 days, and I'm like, okay. So we have our implementation meeting, and they put the law under a traditional injunction, meaning it was only valid for 1 year. And I was like, oh no. This defeats the entire purpose of the law. I was devastated.
It's like another year probation for the perp, basically. That's it. Like, you can have this lifetime thing, but only for a year?
It's not even, it's a punishment for the victim. So you're going to put the responsibility on the victim to file a petition every
single
year?
Oh gosh, no. Yeah.
Oh, I was devastated.
Anniversary of my, better go attack my attacker.
So I said, when their punishment starts, mine ends, mine starts.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I said, how do we fix this with the implementation team? And they're like, well, we'd have to create a new chapter. Let's do it.
Yep. Where
so I wrote it. We wrote it.
Gosh.
And
how long was this whole process from like, I want to write this bill, to like, oh, let's fix this. Oh, let's fix this.
Yeah. So I guess let's say February 22nd, 2020.
Okay.
And then on September 24th, less than 2 weeks, the law goes into effect.
In 2 weeks from right now. So 2 years you spent writing Kayleigh's Law, and now it's... Is it going to be easier to pass this in other states now that like the groundwork has been laid?
I hope so.
What needs to happen? This is important information.
Yes.
What needs to happen for this to get passed in every single state?
So we want to go state by state, right? Because laws are different in every state.
Okay.
So it's important to understand the law may vary in every state, but the overall concept should be pretty adoptable in each state. The language is going to have to differ, and that's okay. But we can still create a natural life protection for victims.
Is there any chance that in other states there are already laws like this?
No.
Or you know this?
Yes.
We've looked.
Arizona is the first state to pass a law that gives victims certain
protection
crimes,
for their natural life
protection.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
You are like, how are you this cool? Like no one in America has thought about this.
I don't. It's
all
crazy.
The victims throughout the last hundreds of years.
I don't even think it's that they haven't thought about it. It's that they assumed the protection was there.
Right.
And when you know that your perpetrator has a lifetime sentence, you don't think that that's going away.
Right.
I mean, lifetime is 7 to 14 years. People really need to understand that. It does not mean lifetime.
Yep. Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. So it's going into effect September 24th. Have you filed in court against your perpetrator yet?
I can't till September 24th, which of course is a freaking Saturday.
Are you going to go? Oh, so you're going to go in on Monday the 26th.
I can't tell. I can't say what I'm doing.
Okay. Oh, well, that's right. Well,
but yes, of course I'm going to serve him.
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to serve him. No.
Someone is going to serve him a document.
Yes.
But you have to take that step to
I have to, even me, I must fill out the form and petition the court.
Okay, so where can victims fill out this form?
So the form will not be available until September 24th.
Okay.
It will be on Maricopa County. Well, it should be on all county websites. I automatically go to Maricopa County because that's where we live.
Right.
But it will be available for victims to fill out the form. And then it'll be on my website once it comes out.
Okay.
So becauseyoustillmatter.com. There are a couple attorneys in Arizona. One specifically is, LSVCLS. Give me a second. LSCVA.
Okay.
And they are helping victims petition. They will be free of charge.
The big thing I want to promote, and I'll put this in the bio of the podcast, is that the link to your website will be in this so that people can simply click to get to your website and be able to, will you have links for all the different counties, or will there be one major link that'll kind of
I don't know yet, because I'm waiting for them to give me that information.
Okay.
I can't do anything till they give it to me.
Great.
And the form is not, because the law hasn't gone into effect yet. So I don't even have that, but I will absolutely be filling out the form.
So Champaign, September 24th, you and me.
Okay.
As glittery as your
Saturday.
outfit. Okay. So, let's go back to your perpetrator. Is there anything else you want to say about that? Isn't he working with youth again?
Well, I don't know that we can say that specifically because I don't know that he was working with youth, but he had so we can tie back in.
I know there's more.
So
you're holding back.
I know
there's something, and I was like, I'm gonna expose it.
So
there's something.
When we went to court in 2020, he did not get his probation lifted, but they did encourage him to come back in 2 years and petition.
Okay.
His probation being lifted had absolutely nothing to do with me, at all. Me being there testifying. So I knew in November of 2021 he was going to motion again. There was because I'm sure he's like waiting, right? Like counting down. He wants a normal life.
How can I get a drink beer?
And he said that. He made it very clear that he wants a normal life. And so when that had, again, I got the phone call, and it doesn't matter how much you prepare. When it's real, it's different.
Yeah.
And I was angry because I'm like, here we go again. Like, here I'm doing this again. And they were so, the way that when they called me, I said, do you even, so my youngest daughter was scheduled for brain surgery the day after I got that phone call. Now, thank God she did not have to have the brain surgery, but that's the kind of like, that's stressful. And
you don't know where the victim is.
You don't. And I'm getting a phone call telling me the day before that, here he is motioning again. Like, see ya in court.
Your perp could like show up at the hospital while your daughter's having brain surgery.
Well, he wouldn't have known that.
You never know.
I guess. But
these people are crazy.
So I had obviously told my family, and I don't go looking for anything because I can't. That's too much for me. I can't. I haven't ever looked at a picture of him. I don't want to know any of that. I don't need to know any of that. That's too much for me.
Right.
And so we, someone within my family had done some research because they knew he wasn't on the sex offender registry because he's a level 1, and that's a whole other topic, not him, just levels of sex offenders.
Right.
And someone found an article that he had published.
Okay. About
his life and how he has found God. And again, like I said, I hope he has. And he blames, I've never read the article. I don't want to. But I know things in it. It's interesting because I guess he uses plural stealer of child's innocence and victims, and which is interesting, I guess.
So he doesn't talk about one victim.
He uses plural language. Yeah, it's not singular. He blames an air-filled orb, soccer ball, and the lines, and how that was because he was a coach and he was a professional soccer player, and he still felt empty. And it wasn't until he found Jesus. I don't know. I haven't read the article, so some of it
I gotta read the article.
But he specifically mentions in there CCV.
Oh, going to church.
Yeah, and how he is involved, but he's never felt so welcome. But they didn't know that he was a registered sex offender.
Do they know now?
Oh yeah, they know now. Not because of me, but they know.
Is he around kids?
He was, yeah.
He's around kids at the church.
So, yeah. So we, again, this kind of like opened a can of worms, right? And people in my life started digging. And it wasn't like it was like they had to look very far. His wife was coaching soccer, and Let me tell you something.
His wife is coaching soccer at the church,
Yes.
and he's, I'm guessing, attending the games to
Well,
support his
you would
wife. And
you would assume so.
I would assume so. Yes, absolutely.
Well, he talks about how he joined a soccer league there in the article.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So, but I want to say something. No one knows a perpetrator better than their victim.
Yes.
They have trained them.
Yes.
No one knows them better. So, yeah, so all this stuff starts to come out, and then they were hosting a neighborhood group.
Oh my gosh.
And very boastfully, and I didn't understand because I've hosted a neighborhood group and you have to be thoroughly background checked.
Right.
But they only used her name in the coach, but then his name in the description. And so of course I go to CCV and I want answers and I want to make sure they have all the information, and they won't tell me anything. Guess why?
Why? Because they're protecting him.
Because they can't give me that information.
Oh, that's classified for a church.
Yeah. So then I'm telling you, it just unravels, and then we find out that the pastor who originally started the CCV Stars program, they allowed him to attend soccer games to watch his children. So he wasn't just watching his children, he was watching other children. And mind you, that's the environment which he offended in.
Right.
That's like, let's take an alcoholic to the bar.
Right.
And so they very much knew. And then he attended the father-daughter dance at CCV with another felon in 2021 at the Peoria campus.
Oh my gosh.
And they knew. So there was a sex offender.
Okay. For anyone that's thinking, poor guy, or like sympathy because he wants to live a normal life. Again, these are situations where, sure, you try to go live. If you wanted to live such a normal life, why wouldn't you move out of Arizona where this is like where your victim is and where this is what you're known for, right? You can live a normal life without attending events with little girls. My husband lives a completely normal life. He's rarely, if ever, around any little girls.
Yeah.
Except for our daughter.
Yeah.
So
I don't
why
know.
does he need to be at soccer games with little girls, at father-daughter dances with little girls? He might as well volunteer in the church nursery.
Yeah. I mean, and then I want answers, but not just specifically for me, okay? Because there's a bigger picture here.
Now there's about the other little girls.
But the bigger and more than just if this is what he's doing and he's getting away with.
On what huge spectrum is this happening all over the U.S.?
Yes, but even within like this congregation, because
Right.
what people forget is these offenders have to go to mandatory like therapy, right? And so even if you have him, again, I'm really good at giving benefit of the doubt here, okay?
Right.
Even if you have him going in, I'm so excited, I finally get to go watch my daughter play soccer or whatever. I get to serve and be a part of church, whatever it is. I'm hosting a group, I'm doing my due diligence, I'm in the community, whatever. What are those other sex offenders hearing?
Right.
Opportunity.
Oh, the church. That's right. The church is very forgiving and accepting.
The church is
Aha.
very...
If that's where I want to go to be accepted and no one will actually condemn me for my past behavior.
No, Jesus forgives.
Right.
We know this.
Totally.
Absolutely. But a sex offender's mind doesn't work like ours. They particularly target churches.
Right.
And they're hearing opportunity and they're like, well, if this guy can get in and do all these things and CCV is letting him be around children, how many other sex offenders are doing what he's doing?
I gotta say this too.
Terrifying.
I got to say this too. Okay. I try not to judge like other people's relationship with God because that's exactly what religion does. And the real God is like, hey, this is between you and me. But in my relationship with the Lord, it's like if my sin, if he convicts me of a sin and I say, all right, Lord, I give that to you. I don't want to be part of that anymore. I give it to you. I want to live a sin-free life. I want to live a righteous life. Take it away, right? And he's not going to, but you have to actively make the effort to avoid situations where you put yourself in front of your sin, right? So like, let's say for me, it's drinking too much, which it probably is. I love wine. If God tells me you need to be done with wine, I mean like done. I'm not going to go wine tasting with my friends.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to a wine bar. I'm not going to go to vineyards. I'm not going to sniff wine. I'm like, if he is a born again Christian and the Lord says, clearly that's your sin, bro. Like, why is he going to soccer games?
I don't know.
Why is he going to father-daughter dances?
Because
if the Lord has said like, let me take this from you, and I've forgiven you. It's like, then don't put yourself in tempting situations, brother.
He shouldn't have been there.
And to me, that says maybe he doesn't have a relationship with the Lord.
But shame on the board at CCV who allowed
Shame,
that.
absolutely shame.
And I met with them, and they were very unaware of how serious what they have allowed. And when I put it you're not looking at the bigger picture here. And I mean, sex offenders, go to church, please. We all need to go to church.
Go to church.
Like, I'm not.
Please get Jesus.
But you can still be compassionate.
Yes.
While holding people accountable.
Yes. Thank you.
And there must be boundaries.
Right.
And so to know that a sex offender just swooped in, and so I sat across from the board of CCV and the head pastor and their security. And they said, well, we spend millions of dollars on security. I said, it doesn't matter how much you spend on security when you're allowing a sex offender to bypass
security,
every safety protocol and be around children.
Right. So there would be nothing wrong with the church saying to him, we are so honored that you have given your life to the Lord.
Absolutely.
Especially here. We love it. We're here for you. Let's offer you free counseling. Let's offer you this. But friend, you understand that the church has decided that it's not best if you go to the father-daughter dance. And you understand why, right? And as a Christian, he would go, I do understand. And I appreciate your transparency.
Absolutely.
And I completely. But no, they didn't do that.
A treated sex offender wouldn't even question like
why
that
he shouldn't be allowed there. Yeah.
I mean, a treated sex offender would go to church, hear the message, and leave.
Right.
And it's interesting because they told me that was their protocol. They're not allowed to be involved in anything else. They can come to a specific service. They must come 10 minutes after it starts, and they must leave 10 minutes after it's over. And I said,
is he doing that?
Then why is he at soccer games and the father-daughter dance and everything else? And then
let me guess, he's going to be a chaperone at the preteen summer camp this summer.
Oh, I didn't let my kids go to camp because it just gets so much worse. Like, the CCV has written him character references on their letterhead.
Oh my gosh.
And again, if this is what I'm dealing with, how many others are dealing with this? And it's very parallel to what I went through before when I turned him in.
Yeah.
My community and my family went to stand behind him. And that is exactly what's happened now.
And that's what they're doing again.
Yeah.
It's like a whole nother assault.
It's sad. It breaks my heart.
Well, I'm so glad that you are activated. I'm so glad you're doing something for women that are not and have clearly never been strong enough to do this because no one else has
it's hard
thought
though.
to do this. But okay, so what's your website again so people can go September 24th, go get protection against their perpetrator?
It is becauseyoustillmatter.com.
Okay. You ready for your cheers?
Oh, we're already at cheers?
Dude, I told you this would be easy.
So
we dominated.
quick.
Did you get everything out that you wanted to say?
I mean, I think so.
Besides your cheers?
I don't know. One more thing. Could we do one more thing?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So she's like, I'm taking a drink anyways. So one of the biggest things right now, because I don't think maybe we did touch on this. Sometimes I forget. I need legislators in other states to sponsor this bill.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I can't do it without them.
Okay.
I need passionate legislators who are willing to sponsor this bill in their state and push it so we can get the law passed in each state.
Okay, call to action.
That is my call to action.
Legislators from other states besides Arizona and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We need you to come forward and
So if you're a constituent in another state, you can get on my website and the laws per each state, Arizona and Wisconsin, are on there, and you can email your designated elected official and send this to them and even share the website. But a lot of the groundwork, like you said, is done for them. But I need them to sponsor the bill in their state so we can get this passed.
Okay, perfect. Good. That's great information.
That is my call to action because I can't. And it's hard when you're not from a state.
You have no idea who to contact.
You're not their constituent, so they're less likely to listen to you because, oh, by the way, don't forget, your government officials work for you.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
Yeah. Well, but you can't vote for them, so they're kind of like, eh.
Yeah. So they're more likely to take the time from an actual constituent, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But I need your help. Like I need your help to get this passed.
Great. Okay.
So
let's do it. All right.
Now
we can cheers. That was
now
a
we're
great
going to cheers.
Ending.
I have my coffee.
Cheers to
victims and survivors because you still matter.
Oh, love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Patriot Barbie podcast. Follow me on Truth Social at the Patriot Barbie and Instagram at the.patriot.barbie. Subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. You can find this show, my book Targeted, and my apparel line on www.patriotbarbie.com. God bless America, and God bless you.
It's Dylan's KC Barbecue at 4 Valley locations. Our sports bar in Arrowhead is packed with TVs for the ultimate sports fan. Our Wildlife World Zoo location will have you on the edge of your seat, dining right next to our 60,000-gallon shark tank. Dylan's Bayou at Pleasant Harbor has never-ending sunsets, beautiful people, and live music every weekend. And our newest location, Western Trails Ranch, is 12 acres of rodeo fun and live outdoor concerts for the entire family. It's Dylan's KC Barbecue, where we're elite, unique, and memorable.